Hi and welcome to Breathless PgMP video. I'm Asadullah Chaudhary and today basically is the third day of my program management with PgMP Success Guarantee workshop, and I'm going to review what we have discussed in all 3 days. First of all, when we talk about the concept of program, we need to understand the context of project, program and portfolio. So when we talk about project in a nutshell, apart from definition, project means how I am producing as a project manager the output. So my mean of output is, let's suppose if organization says we need to go and increase our revenue. So that is something that is their strategy. So increment 30% of their strategy, 30% of their revenue is their strategy. Then they say we need to get 20% or 15% of increment through our online sales. So you are going to implement online product portal which will help them to achieve the overall strategy, which is one part of the strategy achievement. That's the program. But the website itself, just to develop the website, is basically a project. So as a website developer, I am not concerned about how many orders you are going to receive and process through my portal. What my concern is that my developed portal is good enough so that you can run your operation and get the results. That's where I say as a project, you are mostly concerned about the output. Then when you say about program, so as a program manager, my responsibility is not just to complete the portal but also to process specific number of order, so that I can say I have converted the output into outcome. So here I am doing the project and converting the project output into program outcome, and as a portfolio manager my job is to see that how these outcomes are translating into overall strategy. So one was my online portal program, but maybe the other thing is that how I am producing the existing orders. So maybe it's face to face or through my retail outlets. So by combining my project output, program outcomes and running my operations, I will be able to achieve my strategic objectives. But when we talk about program, generally people consider that program is just an extension of a project, which is not the real case. See, when you talk about program means collection of related projects. But when you say related, it does not mean they are related because they all are of same type, they all are of same department, or they all are related to some specific customer or some specific sector. No. They all are related because they all are focusing on the outcome that you are going to achieve. So that's why when you say program may have subsidiary program may divide their further components as smaller projects, and there is important thing which is called operations, or sometimes we call it infrastructure, that this is the program infrastructure we are going to implement through PMO, where we are going to do support of program and projects. So project planning, project support, project coordination, finance, HR, admin, all the work that we need to support our program components will be managed through PMO. So if I used to say that program manager is a CEO, so in a nutshell, this PMO manager or infrastructure head is the COO of a program. Then when we come here, so the overall structure of organization is that we run organization because of vision. So we have lots of definition, but when we say vision means picture of future. So my vision of my AUC company is to be a global innovative company. Then I say mission means what you do. So we provide innovative and humanized products and services to our end users. That's what we do. Strategy. So now my strategy is to focus to convert more than 100,000 PMPs into PgMP. So that's what my strategy is. How I am going to achieve that 1,000 number is being done by management of ongoing operations which are going to be produced, and doing some project which can increase the value of overall organization. So these are the overall scenario through which I'm going to do. But how I'm going to do it is also dependent on my strategy. So when I say strategy, generally, if you look back, you can go for Michael Portal and specifically the article in HBR where they say, what is a strategy? Then, after that, you can also see a very interesting article of HBR where they ask you, can you say something about your strategy, that how you are defining this strategy, what are the components of strategy? But here, I'm going to differentiate two different types of strategies. One of the early concept of strategy is totally based on competition, where Michael Porter is talking about 5 forces. So you have rivalry among the existing players. You want to manage your operations by negotiating the best price from your suppliers, by giving the best price to your buyers, and making sure that there are no new entrants are here, or if they are not going to eat your revenue pie. And you have to see your future, that is there any new technology, new product or service are going to come who may threat your existing revenue or company. So basically this is all about how you are going to compete based on cost or based on quality. So in this concept, they talked about either you can compete or win based on differentiation, or you can based on cost. But thanks to Blue Ocean strategy, where they talked about that, first of all, you have to see the existing market, and you don't need to compete based on either cost or quality. You can also compete based on differentiation. So here it is basically 4 strategic values. We are showing what are the factors, so that these are the factors on which currently market is competing, which factor you can reduce, which factor you can eliminate, which factors you can actually add, so you can be differentiated in an organization. And yes, here they are saying you can only choose one, either differentiation strategy or cost strategy. But here they say you can reduce your cost and be a differentiator at the same time. You don't need to choose one. So first of all, when you're talking about a program, you need to understand what is your strategy. Is your strategy is based on cost, or is your strategy is based on differentiation? So when I came into the market and talking about program management and project management, everybody was competing based on 35 PDUs. Everybody was competing based on the project concepts and the quality of the 3 or 4 or 5 day training. But what I have done is I have changed the market dynamics, at least in Pakistan and in UAE, and I thought I'm going to give you success guarantee. I'm going to make sure that you follow my standard. So basically, I have added couple of factors which were not there in the market, and for last 2 years I am doing most of the training here in Pakistan and UAE based on the differentiation, where I'm not only differentiator, but my price, my cost is also lower than the other competitors. Then when you talk about program, you see, generally one of the biggest problem in program management is people think that program is an extension of a project. And when PMI launches their standard for program management edition 1, standard for program management edition 2, they all were like initiation, planning, lots of knowledge area and processes. But people say this is not an extension of program. So based on contingency model, that there is no one size fit for all, PMI has also adopted it, and they in their 3rd edition they said you have 5 performance domains, and you need to understand it and run your program based on those performance domain. So basically the anchoring performance domain is Lifecycle, which is basically handling the program from start to end. But through start to end, you have to make sure what is the role of strategy here, how you are going to set up the governance and make sure that you have appropriate decision making throughout the program. Then what are the benefits you are going to identify and realize within the program, and how you are going to sustain them after the program execution and conclusion. Finally, you cannot manage the program in an isolation. You have to understand the stakeholder dynamics. You have to see how multiple stakeholder, different kind of stakeholder, different type of stakeholders are going to interact within the program. And when you talk about the program manager, as I said, program manager is a CEO of a program. In fact, a temporary CEO of a program. There's a very good book which is The 4 Dilemmas of CEO. They say generally CEOs work in the company rather than work on the company. Same way, as a program manager, you have to work on the program rather than work in the program. So when you say work on the program, it is basically only and only stakeholder management. Now, when you talk about the program lifecycle, as I said, we have 5 domains. Same way, I try to map the domains with all the other domains, especially the program lifecycle. And this is basically inspired by the Muhammad Lethi's book of program management. Here, you can see program generally has 3 phases: program initiation, program benefits delivery, and program closure. But when you further divide it, it's program formulation and preparation, then benefit delivery, which has further 3 parts, and closure is basically into transition and closing. So when we talk about the strategy, if we start from the strategy, first of all, you have to align the organization strategy from the program strategy. And then what you need to do is you need to develop a program component roadmap, because it's not necessary that every time when you start your program, all of the project will start after the program. There may be a possibility that you have a couple of programs which are already in process and you are basically adding them to the program that you are going to start. So maybe you have a couple of projects which are already in process and you are starting a program and you are adding a couple of more projects, and you have in process some projects, and then you have some new projects coming in within a program. And then as a program manager, you have to continuously throughout the program assess the environment, that is your program is valid, are the program components required to you, do we need some adjustment. In this context, I would say Michael 3 book in terms of program management is fantastic read, where he gives you a combination 2x2 matrix of uncertainty and ambiguity. So how you are going to measure or review the uncertainty of outputs and ambiguity of stakeholder inputs. So this is one of the key things that you can review from the enterprise environmental factors. Then we have benefit from a life cycle, which is basically works hand to hand with the program life cycle. So we have benefit identification, where we write down our benefit register. Then we have benefit analysis and planning, where we talk about benefit realization plan. Then we have benefits delivery, and finally benefit transition, and more importantly benefit sustainment, that how the organization or operations who are going to take over the program after the execution will maintain and sustain the overall outcomes of the programs. Then same way we have stakeholder, we are talking about stakeholder, how to identify a stakeholder, how to develop engagement plan of a stakeholder, and how to engage the stakeholder throughout the program. Here the major catch is you are not going to manage the stakeholder. Actually, you are going to engage the stakeholder. It's not about that how you are managing them. It's all about how you are engaging them. And then the last one, but actually the main one, is governance structure, where first of all you are going to set up the governance of a program. And as I said, program is a temporary organization, program manager is a temporary CEO. So one of the key job of a program manager is to set up a governance structure, to define the governance plan, and to do the governance throughout the program. So when you talk about the governance throughout the program, I would say PMI has developed a fantastic practice guide, project, program, portfolio governance, where they give you 4 functions of governance, where you do oversight of a program, where it means that you are making sure that your program components are aligned with the strategy, integration of a program, where you are making sure that all the program components are dependent and they are integrated with the system and application. Then you are basically controlling the results of the program, and finally you are providing or making sure that you are getting the decisions on right time. So this is how we are talking about the overall concept of all the 5 process domain from performance domains mapped together, and you understand how the whole concepts and activities are working in a specific manner. So when I talk about the governance, so first of the key thing, I love this concept. Generally what we do have is a strategy. but what we don't have is how we are going to execute the strategy. Based on INSEAD research, they say that only 70% of organizations, only 30% of the organization achieve their strategy, and 70% of the organization are unable to achieve their strategy. One of the key role is they have fancy strategies, but they don't know how to execute them. That is why if you go and look at the executive education department of INSEAD University, Harvard University, Stanford University, MIT University, they all are giving you one common course, and that is how to execute your strategy. And the interesting fact is every year around $1 billion is being invested on strategy planning session, strategy retreat, strategy making session. But as I said earlier, only 30% of organizations are able to achieve it. So here, this is the model of Jay Galbraith, where he talks about the, how we are going to design the organization. So this organization design method we can use in program when we're talking about the governance structure of a program or the organization structure of a program. So when we talk about organization structure program, it says you need to align the structure of a program with the strategy, as well as your processes, your people and rewards should be aligned. If it is not aligned, you are not going to get the result. So one of the famous quote of Jay Galbraith is that organizations usually have tomorrow's strategy, today's pupil and yesterday's reward. So if this is the case for you, I'm sorry, your program in jeopardy. So then project finance, actually if I look into the whole game of program lifecycle, this is all about how I'm going to formulate the program with the business case. Sometimes this is a specific topic, and I believe PMI is still trying to find out how to align it. As for the PMI, mega projects are not program. I think they did not identify it specifically, but they are trying to identify it in some way. Now they are talking about mega project, but neither they are calling it a project, neither they are calling it a program. But as far as Oxford MPM program considers, they say mega projects are classic example of program where mega project managers, mostly from the the buyer side, is responsible of achieving the outcomes or benefits of the program. So most of the time when you talk about mega project, when you talk about major program from the perspective of Oxford, so what they are saying that you have to get the finance from multiple sources. So one of the key differences when you go for a corporate finance, you have to talk about full recourse, and when you talk about a project finance, here you have a limited recourse, which is basically a benefit for a project that you are only responsible to give back the money based on your project performance. Your other operations and other organization assets are not on stake. But as I said, it's a limited recourse. It takes time to get the fund, and the results are dependent on a long-term investment, although it also depends on the program outcome, but this is how it works. But after securing or developing the business plan, you go to the organization setup. So as I said, organization setup is all about, these two are basically part of program preparation part. This is business case, and this is all part of program formulation. As I said, program initiation phase, and I'm not saying the right name, but it's the conception phase, where you go for the business case. The first thing that you do in program formulation is to secure the program approval through business case. Then you go and get the approval of a program charter, and then you go for the program roadmap, and after that you go to develop the organization structure. One of the, I would say, interesting factor of organization structure is sometimes, as I mentioned you there, you set up PMO within a program. But most of the time, as a buyer organization, when you are doing a program, you set up a PMO and you make your program manager or program director as a PMO head, and the program or PMO team is managing the program. So this is all about, you need to understand what is the role of a PMO and what a PMO can deliver for a program, either inside the program or as a program body who is responsible to deliver the program outcome. Then after this, here comes the important factor, which is risk. When we talk about risk means uncertainty. So it may go into positive way or into a negative way. But the problem which I learned in Oxford is when you talk about risk experts or so-called experts, they are not expert, they are not calibrated. In this way, I would say, Douglas Hubbard write two fantastic concepts. One is how to measure anything in his book, and the failure of risk management. The premises that Douglas Hubbard gives is those who are estimating, those who are planning the program are not calibrated. So we need a calibrated professional. And I would say, to understand the whole concept, you can read three fantastic books, and I would say, read them in a sequence. So Blink, Thinking Without Thinking, my all-time favorite, Thinking Fast and Slow by Daniel Kahneman, and my recent fantasy, Super Forecasters. So basically, when you understand the program risk, when you identify and do the benchmarking, when you utilize the reference class forecasting, you basically avoid the planning fallacy. Planning fallacy is a concept where generally estimators or planners underestimate the time and cost of program delivery and overestimate the benefits of program. This is why, based on bench research, 9 out of 10 mega projects are late, and 50% cost over is common. But interestingly, according to Ben, 100% is not uncommon. And based on his research, this cost overrun is constant for last 70 years, and it is basically found in all 5 continents and 20 nations. Then benefits. Benefit is actually the core reason on which we are doing the program, and this is what we are responsible of. A benefit is an outcome of a program. So when we say benefit can be tangible, let's suppose in terms of achieving the market share, growing the market penetration, getting the process value down. So there could be multiple tangible benefits, but intangible benefits are, market brand, customer satisfaction, employee satisfaction. So these all are, intangible benefit types. Then when you talk about benefits, it's not necessary that all the benefits or outcomes are coming at once. Maybe, like in an ERP program, you have completed your finance project, finance module, and you start reaping the benefits of a finance. So it means basically you can deliver the benefits incrementally rather than to wait the end of the program and deliver it. But for the case of end benefits delivery, I would say dam or a road or bridge are the classic example of end benefits delivery. Then here comes the, I would say, technical part of a program. You see, the biggest problem is, I would say, it's some engineering mindset problem. Whenever we go for any program or any project, we try to find out the solution. Basically, as a system thinker, the design thinker, we are not supposed to find the solution first. We are supposed to find the problem behind the problem first. This is where design thinking comes in, and this is where where you are talking about why to deliver this program, what are the major reasons. So you can look into it, and you can also go and read a book of Simon Sinek where he talks about find your why, and to understand how he defines his golden circle. And he says whenever you talk about any business, any program, anything, please start with why rather than what and how. Then system thinking is an approach where you think that it's not about the product itself, it's all about how we are going to deliver the product, who is going to use it, in which environment they are going to use it, what are the components that they are going to interact with each other. So if you understand the full context, end-to-end context, then you are able to deliver the exact results. Otherwise, you are just honking around here and there and finding out what's happening with you. This is one of my favorite tool, Although PMI has also published his practice guide on navigating complexity, this is basically adopted from Harvey Miller article, How Hard Can It Be? And he provides a complexity assessment tool where it says that you have basically three different types of complexities. Structural complexity, where he talks about number of people, project locations, size of the project, duration of the project. So that's how you are gauging or measuring the complexity of a program in terms of structure. Maybe your program is emergent because you are using new technology. So right now everybody is talking about cryptocurrency, AI, virtual reality, augmented reality. If you are going to make some program based on these technologies where outcomes are still uncertain, so then this program is highly complex in terms of emergent results. But say you are doing a program like we are doing the CPAP program, everybody has its own say. It's actually complex from a structure side also. But if you have 200 people and everybody has its own say, everybody has its own requirements, so it's no more structure, it's highly complex based on socio-economic or political reasons. So you need to understand the program complexity and work on the interfaces and interdependencies of program components. So if you are not going to develop the workflow of program components, your results will not be able to deliver it. Here you are talking about actually program scope, that how individual components are going to interact with each other. In this scenario, you can use Jeffrey Moore book where he talks about the concept of pooled workflow, reciprocal workflow and sequential workflow to design the overall program experience and program components interaction. Then here comes you. You means leader. You means master builder. You means the program manager who is going to deliver the program. You see, when we talk about leadership, we have lots of noise, I would say. When we talk about leadership, people talk about everything. We lead servant leadership, visionary leadership, agile leadership, adaptive leadership, transactional leadership. There are dozens of leadership types. But this concept of primary colors, which I have adopted from a very good book, Leadership All You Need from David Middleton, it says that don't be a duck. They say an average person can excel out of two areas. So let's suppose me, I'm good in strategy, I'm good in operation relatively, but I'm very bad in networking. For me, I am S plus, O plus and N negative. So in this context, what I need to do is, rather than focusing on my weak area, I should focus on my strengths and I should engage team members and other people who can leverage me with my weakness. So this is how I will excel my work and move on. This whole concept is all about focus on your strength, find your strength and focus on your strength. But I would say, typically in a year, I read around 50 to 55 books. And in 2017, if I have to, give credit to only one book which changed and impacts my life, then I would say it's Act Like Leader, Think Like Leader by Hermione Ibarra. And I would say thanks to her that she brought this concept. So if I have to sum up the whole book in one sentence, then it means add before subtract. What she says is, so if your next job is your current weakness, so what you need to do is you need to learn and do and practice your weakness till it becomes your strength. But as I said, you cannot be all three. So what you need to do is you need to add before subtract. So what happens is that, like in my case, now I'm focusing more on strategy and networking, and I'm releasing myself from operational workload. That's how you move on. So my next job, my next project is mostly depends on networking skill, and right now I'm not going to do it. So what I need to do is, am I going to outsource this networking? No way, I can't do it. So what I need to do is I need to focus and build on my networking skill and release my operational workload. So what you are, I would say I have done 4 or 5 personality assessments on me. I have done SDI, I have done MBTI, I have done Big Five, all. But I found, SDI more interesting, more memorable, more engaging. And then even I went to and became the one of the SDI facilitator. It basically gives you 4 important premises. One of the key premises is, whatever you do, whatever your behavior is basically is driven by your internal motivation. But your motivation changes when you are in conflict. And the key thing, that it helped me in my personality and I worked on it is, if you overdo your strength, then your strength is no more your strength. Your strength becomes your weakness. So as I am red blue, as you can see, I'm aggressive, I want to do things, and I'm into training. So I'm a red blue person and I want to achieve things for people like you, and by giving my training, coaching, guidance. This is how it works. So you need to identify what are your strengths, and then please guard your strengths and try to make sure that your strengths are your strengths. They are not going to become your weakness. Then important aspect is stakeholders. Stakeholders are those resources basically who are going to be affected from your project program or affect your project or program. So when you talk about one of the key issue that I see in market is when I say I'm doing a training for you and you all are from one company, so who am I? Am I an internal stakeholder or external stakeholder? And everybody says you are external because you are not an organization. And this is where the problem is. Winch gave a very good concept of internal and external. It says when you talk about a project or a program, either I am demanding the project output or outcome, or I am supplying the project output or outcome. We both are in internal. So internal is further divided into demand side and supply side. So customer, user, sponsor, client, buyer, they all are internal demand side stakeholders. But product manager, consultant, vendor, supplier, seller, they all are also internal supply side stakeholder. My external stakeholders are basically divided into public and private. Public means government regulatory body. Private means common people, competitors, NGO, political parties who may impact our program. So what we need to do is we need to identify the actual external stakeholders. My external stakeholders are not these internal supply side stakeholders. We think that we understand external stakeholders and we'll manage them, and that's where the problem is. Most of the projects gets delayed not because of internal stakeholders but because of the external stakeholders. And we talked about lots of case studies that how many mega projects has been delayed due to the external stakeholder. And one of a key writer which says it's a social license to operate for a program. So when we talk about the stakeholder engagement, the first thing is we need to identify stakeholder and assess their involvement and develop an engagement plan. So one of the key thing is we can use power interest grid, power influence grid, or salience model, which guides us that how we are going to engage the stakeholder in our program or program component. So this, I would say, although it's applicable to both for internal and external, but I would say it's more applicable to internal stakeholders. But I would say I'm amazed by the work of Heinz. Heinz wrote a book called Corporate Diplomacy, where his diplomacy is due diligence. This due diligence is more of an analytical work, that how many stakeholders we have, how we are going to analyze them, how we are going to analyze their impact. So first of all, from a due diligence point, from a diplomacy concept, so D for due diligence, I for integration, diplomacy P is for personal, L is for learning, O is openness, and messy is your mindset. So due diligence is how analytically we are identifying the stakeholder. But the key thing is, what is the problem I have found in the most of the organization. And in fact, after reading this, I was also a victim of this thing, that when we present our progress reports, we don't talk about our stakeholder and external stakeholders. We don't have the success measures and the risk in our external stakeholder. Generally, we have PR department, contract department, someone else within a program who is responsible for NOCs, for stakeholder management, for political engagement and everything, but we don't combine them, integrate them into a business. So integration is very, very important. And then, as I said, networking and, your skill. So you have to earn the trust of a stakeholder, and you can't just let someone else do it. As a program manager, you have to build that trust. You have to go to that length and engage them. Of course, you can't do with everybody, but at, the key stakeholder or the pressure groups or the power groups, you need to talk to them. Learning is all about how you are getting the feedback of others into our program and doing it, and openness is all about you are accepting it, you are engaging them, and you are getting the feedback into the system and getting the results. And then mindset, the concept is please, whenever you do program, you must engage, involve and work on external stakeholder. Your mindset also focuses on external stakeholders. So that's how we are going to manage the both internal and external stakeholders throughout the program. Finally, how I'm going to motivate my team. So to motivate my team, I would say, people talks about multiple teams, cross-functional teams. There are a lot of issues, but I would say the first thing is, what is the culture of your program or organization? What you are going to achieve? What happens is, most of the time we focus on control culture. But you see, if your program is all about to save money, it's all about to operation excellence, then control culture works for you. But if it's all about to build a new product, to become a market leader, or you want to introduce a new innovative product, this is something which is going to hinder your progress. You have to cultivate the culture of innovation. You have to give space to your team so that they can work together. So when you talk about control and competence, it's all about the program which is mainly focused on cost leadership, operational excellence. But when you talk about cultivation and collaboration, it's all about differentiation, how you are building the product for the client, which is unique in terms of its offering, which is unique in terms of their results, and how we are going to produce the benefits to my end user and sponsor, so they can enjoy or reap the benefits after the end of the program. So I hope you enjoyed this Breathless, in which I have discussed all in a very fast forward way, which we have covered in 3 days. Thank you and lead well.